A guest on Live Silences, Kelly Ripa's nosiness. On Wednesday, Brian Cox was put in an embarrassing situation when Kelly Ripa let her curiosity to get the better of her. Anyone following Brian Cox's stellar career will notice that he has never held back when expressing his opinions. The 77-year-old Scottish performer isn't afraid to say what's on his mind. And you most likely earned that right if you've been honored with an Emmy, a Golden Globe, and a Screen Actors Guild Award over your career. Contemplate it. Who will have the guts to tell him to stop talking? Sort of. Brian Cox as a Bond villain. Cox discussed his new gang show, 007, Road to a Million, with Ripa and Mark Consuelos on Live. 9 pairs of regular individuals are dispatched on a worldwide excursion in the new gang show, 007. Road to a Million is comparable to The Amazing Race. However, it differs in that it seems to have a theatrical flair. To have a chance at taking home the substantial cash prize, the competitors must complete a series of tasks reminiscent of James Bond. Cox plays the man in charge, dubbed the Controller. The Controller in 007, Road to a Million, is played by Brian Cox. Cox claims that he signed up for 007, Road to a Million, with the expectation of being a star in the upcoming James Bond film. I mistook it for the newest James Bond film. I finally got to play a villain in a James Bond movie, Cox remarked. I said, yes, I'll do that. That's excellent, that's fine. However, I later discovered that they don't have a James Bond. They're not using a script. Cox claims that even though he played the antagonist on the show, the participants never really got to talk to him. When he went to film his scene, he informed Consuelos and Ripa that the show was already finished. Cox responded with brevity, but Ripa felt disappointed for the participants. Cox remarked, "No, I think they'd be even more terrified if they heard my voice." Kelly Ripa's ignorance causes a funny incident. However, the topic turned to Cox's personal life before he could share his experience on 007. Road to a Million. In his lifetime, Cox has been married 3 times. His initial union with Lizen Monroe Kerr lasted a scant 12 months. His second marriage held together a little better. Cox and Caroline Burt separated in 1986 after 18 years of marriage. Cox wed Nicole Insari in 2002. Since then, the couple has stayed together. Consuelos questioned Cox about the key to the success of his third marriage. Consuelos approached Cox and said, "We hear you and your wife have found the ideal living arrangement in the house. Tell us about it." To the audience's amazement, Cox said, "Separate bedrooms." That's the success of as we have been married for 23 years and together for 25 years. Before his microphone was turned off for a brief while, Cox remarked. As soon as Cox got his microphone back, the audience started laughing and he concluded his narrative. When we get to see each other and are permitted to enter each other's bedrooms, we draw lots. Cox agreed when Consuelos inquired as to whether he meant for it to be comparable to visitation rights. A lot of visits, indeed. Ripa took in the information with a look of shock. However, in her usual manner, she had to delve even more. She questioned Cox, "So what happens on visitation day?" He laughed along with the boisterous group and told her, "Well, that's my business, not yours," without missing a beat. "What do you suppose occurs on the day of visitation?" Cox questioned Ripa in jest.